I wanted to touch base with you one final time before the semester's over. I don't have a great deal to say to you, but thought we'd go over just a few basics. Your grades on exam number 2 were good, and it looks like all of you are in good shape. I thank you for your good work on that. It seemed like you really learned the material. I will say just a little bit about ERA 7. You're well into it, having studied it for a couple of weeks now. But make sure you note that Jesus' resurrection is the first installment of the new heavens and the new earth. Tim Keller uses that phrase, first installment, on the ERA video, and I think that's a good way to describe it. Because when Jesus rose from the grave, it was like a down payment, an initial deposit on God's perfect solution for all the problems in the world. And the church, in fact, is a foretaste of the new creation that God's going to bring about at the end of time. When Jesus comes back and He makes everything right. The church is the place where God has fellowship with His people, where people are moved away from their sin and toward holiness as they follow the Lord. And even where the other problems of life and of relationships begin to be repaired because of God's work. When people look at the church, they ought to see just a little hint of what all of creation will look like at the end of time. So make sure you get that down in this era as you study it. Also, note that the church is in tension with the world. The world's a place where there's still rebellion against God. God's not subdued the hearts of unbelievers and brought them to Himself like He has with those who are in the church. So the church has a contrast with the world in this whole time between Jesus' ascension back to the Father and when He comes again. That's where persecution comes about, and why we see persecution in the New Testament in the era of the church. Also in the New Testament, you see the church taking the message of Jesus throughout the world and starting to beat back this darkness that's all around us and trying to expand the kingdom of God, expand the realm where God is beginning to give a foretaste of the new creation. And in fact, that's where we still live today. Go forward now a little bit to the end of time when Jesus comes back. I want to call your attention to one image that Bible Mesh gives, 3 images actually, that are really helpful. If you go to about the 8-minute and 15-second mark in the ERA 7 video, Tim Keller says that Revelation gives 3 images: a wedding feast, a city, and a throne. And he explains how those 3 images, wedding feast, city, and throne, are 3 ways to think about the overall storyline of the Bible. I was looking at that ERA 7 video again today, and I thought a good final exam question for you all will be, explain how the images of a wedding feast, a city, and a throne are good ways to explain the overall message of the Bible. So please, this week sometime, take a look at that ERA 7 video, fast forward it to the 8-minute 15-second mark, and watch all the way to the end, which is only about 2 minutes and 10 seconds from that point. But watch all the way to the end and take careful notes on how Tim Keller uses the image of wedding feast, city, and throne to explain the Bible's whole storyline. I'm likely to ask you on the final exam to reproduce that. Not word for word, but I'd like you to be able to explain the overall story of the Bible from beginning to end in terms of those 3 images. If you have questions about what I mean by that, please email me or contact me somehow to ask. That leads to a few words I want to say about your final exam. It's going to take the same format as the other 2 exams that we've had this semester, but it's going to be cumulative. In other words, I'm going to ask you some questions about the era of Jesus and about the Old Testament backgrounds. It's going to be weighted, the exam is, toward ERA 7. So I'm not going to ask you an equal number of questions about all of the units of study we've covered, but I am going to put some questions on the exam about Old Testament backgrounds and about the Gospels, and we're also going to try to bring it all together. So be studying those other eras some, though most of the questions are going to come from ERA 7 that you've been studying these last 3 weeks. I'm going to make the exam available until Saturday night, December 15th at 11:55 p.m. I know that the semester officially ends on our Moodle Room site December 16th, which is a Sunday, but I didn't want you to wait until Sunday to do the exam. I'd rather you have Sunday to go to church and to rest and to be with your family. So I'm going to cut the exam off on Saturday night, because I know if it were me and it were available till Sunday, I'd wait until Sunday to do it. I think I'll make the exam available beginning on Tuesday morning at probably 8 o'clock, and so you'll have between Tuesday morning and Saturday night to take that exam. Don't wait until the very last minute, like 11 o'clock Saturday night, because I don't know what the Moodle Room site does to you if you're still taking the exam when the time expires. It might allow you to continue, but I don't know that for sure, so don't take that chance, would be my advice. I'll grade the exam 2 to 3 business days after you take it and try to get that grade back to you in a timely fashion. And then shortly after that, I will submit all your final grades so that you can see how you did. And then finally, on week 8, you will probably see an extra assignment in there called something like forum participation. This is not anything that you have to do. I just need a slot in the grade book to record your grade for the discussion on our class forums. And I can't do that unless I put in an assignment. So there will be an extra assignment on week 8. And you can just see that that's there. And when I put a grade in there for you, you can look at it, and that's just your grade for the whole semester on forum participation. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly, but I think your forum participation grade is out of 40 points maximum. So you can look on the syllabus for that, and then you can see that your grade will be, if it's 40, it's 100%. If it's less than that, it's out of 40, not 100. So don't panic if you think your grade's low. I think that's about it. I've enjoyed having you this semester, even though we haven't gotten to interact face to face. I hope that you have a better sense now than you did before of not just the individual events in the New Testament, but about how they all fit together and how the Old Testament fits with the New Testament, because it will enrich your study of the Bible for your entire life if you have an idea of big themes rather than just stories here and there. So once again, thank you for your work, and I hope you all do well on the final exam.